Exercise, mindful breathing. This mindful breathing exercise will help you learn the fourth what skill, which is learning to separate your thoughts from your emotions and physical sensations. You already learned the basics of mindful breathing in Chapter 2, Advanced Distress Tolerance Skills, but this exercise will give you an additional understanding of the skill. Very often, when you're distracted by your thoughts and other stimuli, one of the easiest and most effective things you can do is to focus your attention on the rising and falling of your breath. This type of breathing also causes you to take slower, longer breaths, which can help you relax. In order to breathe mindfully, you need to focus on 3 parts of the experience. First, you must count your breaths. This will help you focus your attention, and it will also help you calm your mind when you're distracted by thoughts. Second, you need to focus on the physical experience of breathing. This is accomplished by observing the rising and falling of your chest and stomach as you inhale and exhale. And third, you need to be aware of any distracting thoughts that arise while you're breathing. Then you need to let the thoughts go without getting stuck on them, as in the previous thought diffusion exercise. Letting go of the distracting thoughts will allow you to refocus your attention on your breathing and help you further calm yourself. Read the instructions before beginning the exercise to familiarize yourself with the experience. If you feel more comfortable listening to the instructions, use your smartphone to record the directions in a slow, even voice so that you can listen to them while practicing this technique. When you first start this technique, set a timer for 3 to 5 minutes and practice breathing until the alarm goes off. Then, as you get more accustomed to using this technique to help you relax, you can set the alarm for longer periods of time, like 10 or 15 minutes, but don't expect to be able to sit still that long when you first start. In the beginning, 3 to 5 minutes is a long time to focus and breathe. Later, when you become more accustomed to using this style of breathing, you can also begin using it while you're doing other daily activities, like walking, doing the dishes, watching television, or having a conversation. When using mindful breathing, many people feel as if they become one with their breathing, meaning that they feel a deep connection to the experience. If that happens for you, that's great. If not, that's okay too. Just keep practicing. Also, some people feel lightheaded when they first begin practicing this technique. This might be caused by breathing too fast, too deeply, or too slowly. Don't be alarmed. If you begin to feel lightheaded, stop if you need to, or return your breathing to a normal rate and begin counting your breaths. For a copy of the instructions below, visit website and download How to Do Mindful Breathing. This is such a simple and powerful skill that, ideally, you should practice it every day. Instructions. First, find a comfortable place to sit in a room where you won't be disturbed for as long as you've set your timer. Turn off any distracting sounds. If you feel comfortable closing your eyes, do so to help you relax. To begin, take a few slow, long breaths and relax. Place one hand on your stomach. Now slowly breathe in through your nose and then slowly exhale through your mouth. Feel your stomach rise and fall as you breathe. Imagine your belly filling up with air like a balloon as you breathe in, and then feel it effortlessly deflate as you breathe out. Feel the breath moving in across your nostrils, and then feel your breath blowing out across your lips as if you're blowing out candles. As you breathe, notice the sensations in your body. Feel your belly move as you activate the diaphragm muscle and allow your lungs to fill up with air. Notice the weight of your body resting on whatever you're sitting on. With each breath, notice how your body feels more and more relaxed. Now, as you continue to breathe, begin counting your breaths each time you exhale. You can count either silently to yourself or aloud. Count each exhalation until you reach 4 and then begin counting at 1 again. To begin, breathe in slowly through your nose and then exhale slowly through your mouth. Count 1. Again, breathe in slowly through your nose and slowly out through your mouth. Count 2. Repeat breathing in slowly through your nose and then slowly exhale. Count 3. Last time, breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Count 4. Now begin counting at 1 again. This time, though, as you continue to count, occasionally shift your focus to how you're breathing. Notice the rising and falling of your chest and abdomen as you inhale and exhale. Again, feel the breath moving in through your nose and slowly out through your mouth. If you want to, place one hand on your abdomen and feel your breath rise and fall. Continue counting as you take slow, long breaths. Feel your belly expand like a balloon as you breathe in, and then feel it deflate as you breathe out. Continue to shift your focus back and forth between counting and the physical experience of breathing. Now lastly, begin to notice any thoughts or other distractions that remove your focus from your breathing. These distractions might be memories, sounds, physical sensations, or emotions. When your mind begins to wander and you catch yourself thinking of something else, return your focus to counting your breath, or return your focus to the physical sensation of breathing. Try not to criticize yourself for getting distracted. Just keep taking slow, long breaths into your belly, in and out. Imagine filling up your belly with air like a balloon. Feel it rising with each inhalation and falling with each exhalation. Keep counting each breath, and with each exhalation, feel your body relaxing more and more deeply. Keep breathing until your alarm goes off. Continue counting your breaths, noticing the physical sensation of your breathing, and letting go of any distracting thoughts or other stimuli. Then, when your alarm goes off, slowly open your eyes and return your focus to the room. Exercise. Mindful awareness of emotions. This is the second exercise that will help you learn to separate your thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations. Mindful awareness of your emotions starts with focusing on your breathing. Just noticing the air moving in through your nose and out through your mouth, filling and emptying your lungs. Then, after 4 or 5 slow, long breaths, shift your attention to how you feel emotionally in the present moment. Start by simply noticing if you feel good or bad. Is your basic internal sense that you're happy or not happy? Then see if you can observe your emotion more closely. What word best describes the feeling? Consult the list of emotions from the Describe Your Emotion exercise if you're having trouble finding the most accurate description. Keep watching the feeling, and while you do, continue describing to yourself what you observe. Notice the nuances of the feeling or perhaps the threads of other emotions woven into it. For example, sometimes sadness has veins of anxiety or even anger. Sometimes shame is intertwined with loss or resentment. Also notice the strength of your emotion and check to see how it changes while you watch it. Emotions invariably come as a wave. They escalate, then they reach a crest, and finally they diminish. You can observe this, describing to yourself each point in the wave as the feeling grows and passes. If you have difficulty finding an emotion that you're feeling in the present moment, you can still do this exercise by locating a feeling that you had in the recent past. Think back to a situation during the last several weeks when you had a strong emotion. Visualize the event, where you were, what was happening, what you said, how you felt. Keep recalling details of the scene until the emotion you had then is being felt again by you right now. However you choose to observe an emotion, once the emotion is clearly recognized, stay with it. Keep describing to yourself the changes in quality, intensity, or type of emotion you are feeling. Ideally, you should observe the feeling until it has significantly changed in quality or strength, and you have some sense of the wave effect of your emotion. While watching your feeling, you'll also notice thoughts, sensations, and other distractions that try to pull your attention away. This is normal. Just do your best to bring your focus back to your emotion whenever your attention wanders. Just stay with it until you've watched long enough to observe your emotion grow, change, and diminish. As you learn to mindfully observe a feeling, 2 important realizations can emerge. One is the awareness that all feelings have a natural lifespan. If you keep watching your emotions, they will peak and gradually subside. The second awareness is that the mere act of describing your feelings can give you a degree of control over them. Describing your emotions often has the effect of building a container around them, which keeps them from overwhelming you. Read the instructions before beginning the exercise to familiarize yourself with the experience. If you feel more comfortable listening to the instructions, use your smartphone to record the directions in a slow, even voice so that you can listen to them while practicing this technique. If you record the directions, pause between each paragraph so that you can leave time to fully experience the process. Instructions. Take a long, slow breath and notice the feeling of the air moving in through your nose, going down the back of your throat and into your lungs. Take another breath and watch what happens in your body as you inhale and let go. Keep breathing and watching. Keep noticing the sensations in your body as you breathe. Pause here for 1 minute if you are recording the instructions. Now turn your attention to what you feel emotionally. Look inside and find the emotion you are experiencing right now. or find an emotion that you felt recently. Notice whether the emotion is a good or a bad feeling. Notice whether it is pleasant or unpleasant. Just keep your attention on the feeling until you have a sense of it. Pause here for 1 minute if you are recording the instructions. Now look for words to describe the emotion. For example, is it elation, contentment, or excitement? Is it sadness, anxiety, shame, or loss? Whatever it is, keep watching and describing the emotion in your mind. Notice any change in the feeling and describe what's different. If any distractions or thoughts come to your mind, do your best to let them go without getting stuck on them. Notice if your feeling is intensifying or diminishing, and describe what that's like. Pause here for 1 minute if you are recording the instructions. Keep observing your emotion and letting go of distractions. Keep looking for words to describe the slightest change in the quality or intensity of your feeling. If other emotions begin to weave in, continue to describe them. If your emotion changes into an altogether new emotion, just keep observing it and finding the words to describe it. Pause here for 1 minute if you are recording the instructions. Thoughts, physical sensations, and other distractions will try to grab your attention. Notice them, let them go, and return your focus to your emotion. Stay with it. Continue observing it. Keep going until you've observed your emotion change or diminish. Conclusion. You've now learned some basic mindfulness skills. Hopefully you have a better understanding of how your mind works and why these skills are important to learn. You should continue using them on a daily basis. In the next chapter, you will build on these skills and learn more advanced mindfulness skills. Chapter 5. Advanced Mindfulness Skills. In the previous chapter, you learned what mindfulness is, and you also learned the basic what skills of dialectical behavior therapy. This means that you learned to become more mindful of what you are focusing on by using these methods, focusing more fully on the present moment, recognizing and focusing on your thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations, focusing on your moment-to-moment stream of awareness, separating your thoughts from your emotions and physical sensations. What you'll learn in this chapter. Now in this chapter, you'll be introduced to the more advanced how skills of mindfulness. These skills will help you learn how to be both mindful and non-judgmental in your daily experiences. In this chapter, you will learn 5 how skills. 1. How to use wise mind. 2. How to use radical acceptance to acknowledge your daily experiences without judging them. 3. How to do what's effective. 4. How to create a mindfulness regimen for yourself in order to live your life in a more aware, focused way. 5. How to overcome the hindrances of your mindfulness practice. As in the last chapter, it is important that you do the exercises in this chapter in the order that they're presented. Each of these exercises builds on the one before it. Wise mind. As stated in the last chapter, wise mind is the ability to make healthy decisions about your life. The term wise mind has been used previously in Buddhist mindfulness practices. It describes a person's ability to simultaneously recognize 2 things. First, that he or she is suffering from ailments, overwhelming emotions, or the results of unhealthy actions. And second, that he or she also wants to be healthy and has the potential to change. Leinhen has acknowledged that Zen Buddhist practices greatly influence the development of dialectical behavior therapy. So it is not surprising that dialectical behavior therapy also recognizes that a person needs to both accept their pain while simultaneously engaging in actions that help alleviate that pain. And one of the primary tools to achieving this goal in dialectical behavior therapy is also to use wise mind, the ability to make decisions based on both your rational thoughts and your emotions. This might sound easy to do, but let's consider the traps that many people often fall into. For example, Leo was a successful salesman with a new company. He had a happy family and a fairly good future ahead of himself. However, Leo frequently became upset when he couldn't close a deal, and so he often felt depressed and thought of himself as a person who would never be able to fully succeed in his life. Despite the positive feedback he received from his supervisors, Leo couldn't shake the feelings of failure that came from deals he couldn't close. As a result, a few months after starting his job, Leo quit, just like he had quit similar jobs in the past. He went on to take a new job, but similar feelings of failure followed him wherever he went, and he never felt fully satisfied with himself. Similarly, Takesha was a popular college professor who always received high ratings from her students and other faculty members. But after a few unsuccessful personal relationships, Takesha felt very lonely. She eventually stopped trying to meet new people because she anticipated that those relationships would just end in failure too. As a result, she felt unworthy of anyone's love and resigned herself to spending the rest of her life living alone. Unfortunately, both Leo and Takesha were overcome by what dialectical behavior therapy calls emotion mind. Emotion mind occurs when you make judgments or decisions based solely on how you feel. But keep in mind that emotions themselves are not bad or problematic. We all need emotions to live healthy lives. You'll learn more about the role of emotions in chapters 7 and 8. The problems associated with emotion mind develop when your emotions control your life. This trap is especially dangerous for people with overwhelming emotions because emotion mind distorts your thoughts and judgments, and then these distortions make it hard to formulate healthy decisions about your life. Consider what happened to Leo and Takesha. Despite their successes, their emotions overwhelmed their lives and led them to make unhealthy decisions. The balancing counterpart to emotion mind is reasonable mind. Reasonable mind is the part of your decision-making process that analyzes the facts of a situation, thinks clearly about what is happening, considers the details, and then makes rational decisions. Obviously, rational thinking helps us solve problems and make decisions every day. But again, as with emotions, too much rational thinking can also be a problem. We all know the story of the very intelligent person who didn't know how to express his or her emotions and, as a result, lived a very lonely life. So here too, a balance is needed in order to live a fulfilling, healthy life. But for people with overwhelming emotions, balancing feelings and rational thought is often hard to do. The solution is to use wise mind to make healthy decisions about your life. Wise mind results from using both emotion mind and reasonable mind together. Wise mind is a balance between feelings and rational thoughts. Again, let's consider the examples of Leo and Takesha. Both of them were being controlled by their emotion minds. If Leo had been making decisions with wise mind, before quitting his job he would have balanced his decision with reasonable mind. He should have reminded himself of the facts of the situation. He was already a successful salesman, and he only became upset when he couldn't close a deal. Therefore, was it reasonable that he should quit? Definitely not. What about Takesha? She received great feedback from both her students and fellow faculty members, so was it reasonable to stop meeting new people after a few failed relationships? Definitely not. This is why using wise mind is so important. You can develop wise mind by using the mindfulness skills you have already been practicing in Chapter 4. Remember that part of what these exercises did was to help you recognize and separate your thoughts from your emotions. So you've already been using both your emotion mind and your reasonable mind. And by practicing those mindfulness skills even more, it will become easier to make healthy decisions based on a balance of what your emotions and your rational thoughts tell you. Wise mind and intuition. According to dialectical behavior therapy, wise mind is similar to intuition. Often, both intuition and wise mind are described as feelings that come from the gut or the stomach area. The exercise that follows will help you get more in touch with your gut feelings, both physically and mentally. This exercise will help you locate the center of wise mind in your body. This is the spot from which many people report knowing what to do and making sensible, wise mind decisions about their lives. Interestingly, this phenomenon of gut feelings might be supported by scientific evidence. Researchers have discovered that a vast web of nerves covers your digestive system. This web of nerves is second in complexity only to the human brain, so some researchers have referred to this area as the enteric brain, meaning the brain in the stomach. Exercise. Wise mind meditation. When you begin using this technique, set a timer for 3 to 5 minutes and practice this exercise until the alarm goes off. Then, as you get more accustomed to using this technique, you can set the alarm for longer periods of time, like 10 or 15 minutes. If you feel more comfortable listening to the instructions, use your smartphone to record the directions in a slow, even voice so that you can listen to them while practicing this technique. Instructions. To begin, find a comfortable place to sit in a room where you won't be disturbed for as long as you've set your timer. Turn off any distracting sounds. If you feel comfortable closing your eyes, do so to help you relax. Now locate the bottom of your sternum on your rib cage. You can do this by touching the bone at the center of your chest and then following it down toward your abdomen until the bone ends. Now place one hand on your abdomen between the bottom of your sternum and your belly button. This is the center of wise mind. Take a few slow, long breaths and relax. Now slowly breathe in through your nose and then slowly exhale through your mouth. Feel your abdomen rise and fall as you breathe. Imagine your belly filling up with air like a balloon as you breathe in, and then feel it deflate as you breathe out. Feel the breath moving in across your nostrils, and then feel your breath blowing out across your lips, as if you're blowing out candles. As you breathe, notice any sensations in your body. Feel your lungs fill up with air. Notice the weight of your body as it rests on the seat in which you're sitting. With each breath, notice how your body feels, and allow your body to become more and more relaxed. Now, as you continue to breathe, let your attention focus on the spot underneath your hand. Let your attention focus on the center of wise mind. Continue to take slow, long breaths. If you have any distracting thoughts, just allow those thoughts to leave you without fighting them and without getting stuck on them. Continue to breathe and focus on the center of wise mind. Feel your hand resting on your stomach. As you focus your attention on your center of wise mind, notice what appears. If you've had any troubling thoughts, problems, or decisions that you have to make in your life, think about them for a few seconds. Then ask your center of wise mind what you should do about these problems or decisions. Ask your inner intuitive self for guidance, and then notice what thoughts or solutions arise out of your center of wise mind. Don't judge whatever answers you receive. Just note them to yourself and keep breathing. Continue to focus your attention on your center of wise mind. If no thoughts or answers come to your questions, just continue breathing. Now continue to notice your breath rising and falling. Keep breathing and returning your focus to the center of wise mind until the timer goes off. Then when you've finished, slowly open your eyes and return your focus to the room. How to make wise mind decisions. Now that you've had practice locating your wise mind center, you can check in with that area of your body before you make decisions. This can help you determine whether a decision is a good one. To do this, simply think about the action you are about to take and focus your attention on your center of wise mind. Then consider what your wise mind tells you. Does your decision feel like a good one? If so, then maybe you should do it. If it doesn't feel like a good decision, then maybe you should consider some other options. Learning to make reliably good decisions about your life is a process that evolves as long as you are alive, and there is no single way to do this. Checking in with your center of wise mind is simply one way that works for some people. However, some words of caution are needed here. When you first use wise mind to make decisions about your life, it will probably be difficult to tell the difference between an intuitive gut feeling and a decision made the old way with emotion mind. The difference can be determined in 3 ways. 1. When you made your decision, were you being mindful of both your emotions and the facts of the situation? In other words, did you make the decision based on both emotion and mind and reasonable mind? If you haven't considered the facts of the situation and are being controlled by your emotions, you're not using wise mind. Sometimes we need to let our emotions settle and cool off before we can make a good decision. If you've recently been involved in a very emotional situation, either good or bad, give yourself enough time for your hot emotions to cool down so that you can use reasonable mind. 2. Did the decision feel right to you? Before you make a decision, check in with your center of wise mind and notice how it feels. If you check in with your center of wise mind and you feel nervous, maybe this decision you're about to make isn't a good one or a safe one. However, maybe you feel nervous because you're excited about doing something new, which can be a good thing. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference, and that's why using reasonable mind to make your decision is also important. Later, when you have more experience making healthy decisions for your life, it will be easier to tell the difference between a good nervous feeling and a bad nervous feeling. 3. You can sometimes tell if you've used wise mind by examining the results of your decision. If your decision leads to beneficial results for your life, chances are you used wise mind to make that decision. When you start using wise mind, keep track of your decisions and the results in order to determine whether you're really using wise mind. Remember, wise mind should help you make healthy decisions about your life. Visit website to download how to make wise mind decisions. Radical acceptance. Another very important part of wise mind and mindfulness in general is a skill called radical acceptance. You already explored radical acceptance in chapters 1 and 2, but the following description will help you understand how it relates to mindfulness skills. Radical acceptance means tolerating something without judging it or trying to change it. Remember the definition of mindfulness that we gave you in the last chapter? Mindfulness is the ability to be aware of your thoughts, emotions, physical sensations, and actions in the present moment without judging or criticizing yourself or others or your experience. Radical acceptance is a very important piece of being mindful because if you're judging yourself, your experience, or someone else in the present moment, then you're not really paying attention to what's happening in that moment. In many ways, judgment is the royal road to suffering because when you judge others, you get angry, and when you judge yourself, you get depressed. So in order to be truly mindful in the present moment, and in order to be fully centered in wise mind, you must practice being non-judgmental. Radical acceptance might sound like a difficult skill to master, but it's definitely worth the effort. Consider this example. Thomas struggled with a problem that's very common for people with overwhelming emotions. He divided everyone and everything into two categories. They were either all good or all bad. There was no in-between for him. When people treated him nicely, they were good, but when someone disagreed with him, he considered them to be bad, even if the person had just been on his good side a few minutes before. This quick fluctuation between good and bad led Thomas to make a lot of judgments and critical remarks about himself and others. Over the years, the accumulation of fluctuations and judgments made Thomas very sensitive to situations that could go wrong. He always expected that other people would make mistakes, insult him, or betray him in some way. One time his sister said that she couldn't help him take his car to the repair shop, and Thomas blew up at her. He criticized her for being ungrateful and selfish. However, the truth was that she had to take her own daughter to the doctor, but Thomas never heard her reasoning. He was too wrapped up in his own judgmental thinking to really listen to anyone else. In truth, Thomas had created a pattern in his life where all of his judgments and critical thinking became realities, and this led to a very lonely and distressing life. When Thomas was finally introduced to the skill of radical acceptance, he was critical of it too. This is ridiculous, he thought. This stupid idea isn't going to help me. I don't need this. How can anyone not be critical? But with the urging of his family, Thomas decided to try using radical acceptance. At first, it was very difficult for him to not make judgments about himself and other people, but he continued using the exercises in this workbook, and with practice, radical acceptance became easier. Slowly, his thinking began to change. Thomas spent less time obsessing over judgmental thoughts and critical remarks, and he spent less time anticipating that other people would insult or betray him. He also no longer thought of people as either just good or bad. He began to recognize that everyone makes mistakes, and that's okay. He also became more mindful of his thoughts, feelings, sensations, and actions in the present moment, which helped him focus better on his daily experiences and make healthier choices for his life. As you can see from this example, one of the hardest parts of using radical acceptance is recognizing when you're being judgmental of yourself or others. This takes practice, and the skills in the workbook will help, but recognizing when you're being judgmental also takes time. You're going to make mistakes. When you're first learning to be non-judgmental, there will be times when you will be judgmental. Then you'll recognize what you're doing, and you'll be more critical of yourself for being judgmental. But that's okay too. That's part of the learning process. Learning how to use radical acceptance is a lot like the story of a man who's walking down a city street and falls through an open manhole to the sewer. He climbs out, looks in the hole, and says, "I better not do that again." But the next day, walking down the same street, he steps into the same open manhole, climbs out, and says, "I can't believe I did it again." Then on the third day, he's about to step into the same open manhole when he suddenly remembers what happened on the 2 previous days, so he avoids the fall. On the 4th day, the man remembers to walk around the open manhole as soon as he starts walking down that street. And on the 5th day, he chooses to walk down a different street in order to avoid the problem completely. Obviously, learning how to use radical acceptance will take you longer than 5 days, but the process of falling into the same judgmental traps will happen in a very similar way. Below are several exercises to help you develop a non-judgmental attitude and to use the skill of radical acceptance. But before you start, let's clarify radical acceptance a little more because it can often be a confusing concept for many people. To use radical acceptance does not mean that you silently put up with potentially harmful or dangerous situations in your life. For example, if you are in a violent or abusive relationship and you need to get out, then get out. Don't put yourself in harm's way and simply tolerate whatever happens to you. Radical acceptance is a skill that is supposed to help you live a healthier life. It is not a tool to fill your life with more suffering. However, there's no doubt that it will be tough to start using radical acceptance because it will require you to think about yourself, your life, and other people in a new way. But once you start using radical acceptance, you'll find that it actually gives you more freedom. You'll no longer spend as much time judging yourself and others, and so you'll be free to do many other things instead. Radical acceptance is one of the most important tools to learn in dialectical behavior therapy, and it's definitely worth the effort. Exercise. Negative judgments. The first step to changing a problem is to recognize when that problem occurs. So to begin changing your judgmental thinking, the first step is to recognize when you're being judgmental and critical. Use the following negative judgments record for the next week. Do your best to keep track of all the negative judgments and criticisms that you make. This includes those you make about things you read in the newspaper or see on television, judgments you make about yourself and other people, and so on. Make photocopies of the negative judgments record if you need to, or visit website to download it, and keep one folded in your pocket so that you can record your judgments as soon as you recognize that you're making them. If you decide that you're only going to write down your negative judgments once a day, such as before you go to sleep, the process of learning radical acceptance will take longer. At the end of the day, you might forget many of the negative judgments that you've made. In order to remind yourself to write down your negative judgments, it might help to give yourself visual reminders. Some people have found that wearing something special to remind them, like a new ring or a bracelet, prods them to remember and write down their judgments. Other people put up sticky notes around their home and office with the word judgments written on them. Do whatever works best for you. Do this exercise for at least 1 week, or until you recognize that you're starting to catch yourself in the moment when you're making negative judgments. Keep track of when you made the judgment, where you were, and what the negative judgment was. Use the following example to help you. Note, when you have completed a negative judgments record, keep it to use in the judgment diffusion exercise later in this chapter. Example, negative judgments record. Sunday, 2 p.m., home. I thought, I hate Sundays, they're always so boring. Sunday, 6:30 p.m., home. I told my girlfriend I didn't like the shirt she was wearing. Monday, 8:30 a.m., in the car park on the way to work. I thought about how much I hate the people on the road who always drive like idiots. Monday, 11 a.m., work. I thought about how stupid my coworkers are for asking me the same questions every day. Monday, 12:30 p.m., work. I thought about how much I hate my boss for buying me a computer that's not fast enough to do my work. Monday, 1:45 p.m., work. I got mad at myself for making a mistake and called myself an idiot. Monday, 2:30 p.m., work. I got mad at the president after reading about his views on foreign policy in the newspaper. Monday, 4:15 p.m., work. I thought about the ugly color they painted the room I'm sitting in. Monday, 5:15 p.m., in the carpool on the way home. I told Sandra she was being rude for keeping her car radio turned up too loud. Monday, 11:30 p.m., home. I got upset with myself for staying up so late and not getting enough sleep. Negative judgments record. When, where, what. Radical acceptance and beginner's mind. Now that you've recognized many of your negative judgments, you're closer to using full radical acceptance. Remember, radical acceptance means that you observe situations in your life without judging or criticizing yourself or others. In the previous exercise, you focused on recognizing your negative judgments because they are usually the easiest ones to spot. But positive judgments can also be problematic. Remember the example of Thomas we recently gave you? He divided everyone into 2 categories, either all good or all bad. He liked people when they were good, but when they did something to upset him, he got angry and labeled them bad. So do you see how making even positive judgments about people or things can be problematic? When you think of someone or something with a rigid and predetermined idea of how that person is going to treat you, then it's easy to become disappointed because no one and nothing is perfect. Presidents sometimes lie, religious people sometimes gamble, Things that we like sometimes break, and people we trust sometimes hurt us. As a result, when you put someone into a category of being 100% good, trustworthy, saintly, wholesome, or honest, it's very easy to get disappointed. But that doesn't mean that you should never trust anyone. What radical acceptance says is that you should approach people and situations in your life without judging them to be good or bad, positive or negative. In some forms of meditation, this is called beginner's mind. This means that you should enter every situation and every relationship as if you were seeing it for the very first time. This recurring newness prevents you from bringing any old judgments, good or bad, into the present moment, which allows you to stay more mindful. Plus, by keeping the situation fresh, it also helps you stay in better control of your emotions. As a result, it's easy to see why one of the goals of dialectical behavior therapy is to help you stop making any judgments at all, either positive or negative. Exercise, beginner's mind. In the following exercise, you'll practice using radical acceptance and beginner's mind. This exercise is similar to the last one, but now you will need to be aware of both the positive and the negative judgments that you make. Again, if you need to use visual reminders to help you remember to write down your judgments, use whatever works for you. A bracelet, a ring, a sticky note with the word judgment on it, a reminder on your smartphone, and so on. Do this exercise for at least 1 week or until you recognize that you're starting to catch yourself in the moments when you're making both positive and negative judgments. Keep track of when you made the judgment, where you were, and what the positive or negative judgment was. As with the last exercise, make photocopies of the beginner's mind record if you need to, or visit website to download it, and keep one folded in your pocket so that you can record your judgments as soon as you recognize that you're making them. The more quickly you record them after they occur, the sooner radical acceptance will become a regular part of your life. Use the example of the beginner's mind record on the following page to help you. The blank beginner's mind record for your use is on the page after that. Note, when you have completed a beginner's mind record, keep it to use in the judgment diffusion exercise later in this chapter. Example, beginner's mind record. Friday, 12 p.m., lunch with Laura. I thought, Laura is an incredibly talented person who never makes any mistakes. Friday, 2:30 p.m., work. I called myself incompetent because I'm not going to be able to finish all my paperwork before 5 o'clock. Friday, 2:45 p.m., work. After talking with my mother on the phone, I thought about what a lousy job she did raising me. Friday, 5:30 p.m., at the bar after work. I was thinking that the bartender looked really nice and was probably the type of person who would make a really good husband. Friday, 7:30 p.m., home. At first I told my boyfriend that he was sweet for making dinner, but when he put too much salt on my food, I told him he was an idiot. Saturday, 2:30 p.m., shopping mall. I found the perfect pair of jeans that are going to make me look fantastic. Saturday, 3 p.m., shopping mall. I was thinking about how ugly one of the guys in the store looked. Saturday, 4:15 p.m., home. I got upset and called myself an idiot when I realized that the jeans didn't fit. Saturday, 9 p.m., home. I got mad at my boyfriend for not helping me get all my chores completed today. Saturday, 10:30 p.m., home. I was thinking about what a perfect day tomorrow is going to be. Beginner's mind record. When, where, what. Judgments and labels. Hopefully, after the last exercise, it's easy to see how putting labels on people, thoughts, and objects, making them either good or bad, can later lead to disappointment. In order to move closer to using radical acceptance, the next exercise will continue to help you monitor the judgments that you make, and then it will help you let go of those judgments. So far in this chapter, you've already recognized many of the problems associated with making judgments. Judgments can trigger overwhelming emotions. Judgments can often lead to disappointment and suffering. Judgments prevent you from being truly mindful in the present moment. Obviously, one of the problems with judgments and criticisms is that they occupy your thoughts. In many cases, it can become very easy to start obsessing on a single judgment. Perhaps you've even had the experience of a single judgment occupying your thoughts all day. Maybe it was something bad about yourself or someone else, or maybe it was something good about yourself or someone else. We've all had this experience. So when your thoughts are occupied by something that happened in the past or by something that might happen in the future, how mindful are you being about the present moment? Probably you're not being very mindful. And when those obsessive thoughts are judgments about yourself or someone else, how easy is it for your emotions to get triggered? Probably it's very easy, especially if you struggle with overwhelming emotions. Exercise, Judgment Diffusion. This judgment diffusion exercise is designed to help you release or let go of your judgments and other obsessive thoughts. In the last chapter, you practiced using the thought diffusion technique as a basic mindfulness exercise. This exercise is very similar. Again, the object is to watch your judgments arise and then to let go of them without getting stuck on them. Like thought diffusion, judgment diffusion also requires the use of your imagination. The object of this exercise is to visualize your judgments, either as pictures or words, harmlessly floating away from you without obsessing about them or analyzing them. Whichever way you choose to do this is okay. If you used a technique in the last chapter that worked, use it again here. If you need a different visualization technique, here are just a few suggestions that other people have found helpful. Imagine sitting in a field watching your judgments float away on clouds. Picture yourself sitting beside a stream watching your judgments float past on leaves. Picture yourself standing in a room with 2 doors, then watch your judgments enter through one door and leave through the other. If one of these ideas works for you, that's great. If not, feel free to create your own. Just make sure that your idea captures the purpose of this exercise, which is to visually watch your judgments come and go without holding on to them and without analyzing them. Before you begin this exercise, review the records you filled out for the negative judgments exercise and the beginner's mind exercise in order to refamiliarize yourself with some of the judgments you've made over the last few weeks. You can even keep these records near you so that you can refer to them if you have trouble remembering any of your recent judgments. During this exercise, you will close your eyes and imagine whichever visualization technique you've chosen. Then you'll watch your past judgments and any new judgments come into your thoughts and float away without you getting stuck on them. Read the instructions before beginning the exercise to familiarize yourself with the experience. If you feel more comfortable listening to the instructions, use your smartphone to record the instructions in a slow, even voice so you can listen to them while practicing this technique. When you are first using judgment diffusion, set a timer for 3 to 5 minutes and practice letting go of your judgments until the alarm goes off. Then, as you get more accustomed to using this technique, you can set the alarm for longer periods of time, like 8 to 10 minutes. For a copy of the instructions below, visit website and download How to Do Judgment Diffusion. Instructions. To begin, find a comfortable place to sit in a room where you won't be disturbed for as long as you've set your timer. Turn off any distracting sounds. Take a few slow, long breaths, relax, and close your eyes. Now, in your imagination, picture yourself in the scenario that you chose in order to watch your judgments come and go, whether it's by a stream, in a field, in a room, or somewhere else. Do your best to imagine yourself in that scene. After you do, start to become aware of your judgments that you're having, just like in the last exercises in which you wrote down your judgments. Start to observe the judgments that are coming up, whatever they are. Don't try to stop your thoughts, and do your best not to criticize yourself for any of the judgments. Just watch the judgments arise, and then, using whatever technique you've chosen, watch the judgments disappear. If you need to refer to any of the records from the past exercises to remind yourself of recent judgments, feel free to do that, but then close your eyes and watch those judgments float away. Whatever the judgment is, big or small, important or unimportant, watch the judgment arise in your mind and then let it float away and disappear by whichever means you've chosen. Just continue to watch the judgments arise and disappear. Use pictures or words, whatever works best for you, to represent the judgments. Do your best to watch the judgments arise and disappear without getting hooked into them and without criticizing yourself. If more than one judgment comes up at the same time, see them both arise and disappear. If the judgments come very quickly, do your best to watch them all disappear without getting hooked on any of them. Continue to breathe and watch the judgments come and go until your timer goes off. When you've finished, take a few more slow, long breaths, and then slowly open your eyes and return your focus to the room. Non-judgment and your daily experiences. The purpose of the previous exercise is to help you let go of your judgments, and the more you practice it, the easier it will get. Then after you've been practicing it regularly for at least a few weeks, it will become easy for you to let go of your judgments in the present moment. Hopefully there will come a day very soon when a judgment will arise in your thoughts, either positive or negative, and you'll simply let it go. Maybe you'll need to close your eyes for a few seconds if you're in a place where that's safe, and visualize the thought floating away. Or maybe you'll be in a conversation with someone when a judgment arises in your thoughts, and you'll simply be able to let it go. That is when you truly will be using radical acceptance. Exercise: judgments versus the present moment. Now that you've practiced being mindful of your thoughts, feelings, and senses in the previous chapter, and you've practiced being mindful of your judgments in this chapter, the next step is to combine the two experiences. In this exercise, you will learn to shift your attention back and forth in a mindful, focused way between your judgments and your physical sensations. When you spend a lot of time obsessing over your thoughts and judgments, it's easy to get lost in your own fantasies about how the world should be. But again, these fantasies often lead to disappointment and suffering. As you continue to practice your mindfulness skills in your life, it will continue to be important to recognize and separate your judgments and fantasies from what's really happening in the moment. One of the easiest ways to do this is to become mindful of your physical senses, what you notice using your eyes, ears, nose, and senses of touch and taste. Often people refer to this as grounding themselves. Grounding yourself in your physical sensations can stop you from obsessing over your judgments, and by doing so, it will also help you become more mindful of what's happening in the present moment. Read the following instructions before beginning the exercise to familiarize yourself with the experience. Then you can either keep these instructions near you if you need to refer to them while you're doing the exercise, or you can record them in a slow, even voice on your smartphone so that you can listen to them while you practice shifting your focus between your judgments and your present moment awareness. Instructions. To begin, find a comfortable place to sit in a room where you won't be disturbed for 10 minutes. Turn off any distracting sounds. Take a few long, slow breaths, close your eyes, and relax. Now, keeping your eyes closed, focus your attention on the weight of your body as it rests on the seat in which you're sitting. Notice the weight of your feet and legs resting on the ground. Notice the weight of your hands and arms resting. Notice the weight of your head resting on top of your neck. Mentally scan your body from head to toe and notice any sensations that you feel. Take your time. Pause here for 1 minute if you are recording the instructions. Now notice any tension you might be feeling anywhere in your body, and imagine the tension melting away like wax in the hot sun. Again, take your time to scan your body for any tension, and keep taking slow, deep breaths. Pause here for 1 minute if you are recording the instructions. When you are finished scanning your body, move your focus to your thoughts and judgments. Just notice any thoughts or judgments that arise in your mind, and when they do, allow them to float away by whichever means you found successful in the last exercises. Allow the thoughts and judgments to leave you without getting stuck on them. Take a minute to do this, and keep breathing slow, long breaths. Pause here for 1 minute if you are recording the instructions. Now redirect your attention to your sense of hearing. Notice any sounds that you can hear coming from outside your room, and note to yourself what they are. Now become aware of any sounds you hear coming from inside the room, and note to yourself what they are. Try to notice even small sounds, such as the ticking of a clock, the sound of the wind, or the beating of your heart. If you become distracted by any thoughts, return your focus to your sense of hearing. Take a minute to do this and keep breathing. Pause here for 1 minute if you are recording the instructions. When you are finished noticing any sounds, once again redirect your focus to your thoughts and judgments. Notice any thoughts or judgments that arise in your mind, and when they do, allow them to float away by whichever means you found successful in the last exercises. Allow the thoughts and judgments to leave you without getting stuck on them. Take a minute to do this, and keep breathing slow, deep breaths. Pause here for 1 minute if you are recording the instructions. Now, once again, redirect your attention. This time, put your focus on your sense of smell. Notice any smells that are in the room, pleasant or otherwise. If you don't notice any smells, just become aware of the flow of air moving into your nostrils as you breathe in through your nose. Try your best to maintain your focus on your sense of smell. If you become distracted by any thoughts, return your focus to your nose. Take a minute to do this, and keep breathing slow, deep breaths. Pause here for 1 minute if you are recording the instructions. When you are finished noticing any smells, once again redirect your focus to your thoughts and judgments. Notice any thoughts or judgments that arise in your mind, and when they do, allow them to float away by whichever means you found successful in the last exercises. Allow the thoughts and judgments to leave you without getting stuck on them. Take a minute to do this, and keep breathing slow, long breaths. Pause here for 1 minute if you are recording the instructions. Now redirect your attention to your sense of touch. Notice the sensation of whatever your hands are resting on, or, keeping your eyes closed, reach out with one of your hands to touch an object that is within reach. Or, if there is no object within reach, touch the chair you're sitting in or touch your leg. Notice what the object feels like. Notice if it's smooth or rough. Notice if it's pliable or rigid. Notice if it's soft or solid. Notice what the sensations feel like on the skin of your fingertips. If your thoughts begin to distract you, simply return your focus to the object that you're touching. Take a minute to do this and keep breathing slow, long breaths. Pause here for 1 minute if you are recording the instructions. When you are finished noticing any touch sensations, once again redirect your focus to your thoughts and judgments. Notice any thoughts or judgments that arise in your mind, and when they do, allow them to float away by whichever means you found successful in the last exercises. Allow the thoughts and judgments to leave you without getting stuck on them. Take a minute to do this, and keep breathing slow, long breaths. Pause here for 1 minute if you are recording the instructions. Now slowly open your eyes. Keep breathing slow, deep breaths. Take a few minutes to focus your visual attention on the room you're sitting in. Notice the objects that are in the room. Notice how light or dark the room is. Notice the different colors that are in the room. Notice where you are in the room. Move your head to look around. Take in all the visual information that you can. If your thoughts begin to distract you, simply return your focus to the room you're looking at. Take a minute to do this and keep breathing slow, long breaths. Pause here for 1 minute if you are recording the instructions. When you have finished noticing any visual sensations, once again redirect your focus to your thoughts and judgments, but this time keep your eyes open. Pick a few objects in the room to focus on, but in your mind, continue to notice any thoughts and judgments that arise, and when they do, allow them to float away. Allow the thoughts and judgments to leave you without getting stuck on them. If you need to close your eyes to do this, that's okay. But open your eyes once the thoughts have floated away and return your focus to the room you're in. Continue to monitor your thoughts and judgments and continue to let them go without getting stuck on them. Take a minute to do this and keep breathing slow, long breaths. Pause here for 1 minute if you are recording the instructions. When you've finished, if you still have time left, continue to switch your focus between your thoughts and judgments and what you notice visually. Then, when your timer goes off, take 3 to 5 slow, long breaths and return your focus to the room. Self-compassion. To have compassion for someone means to recognize that the person is in pain and needs help. Similarly, when we show compassion for someone else, we treat them kindly and don't judge them for their situation or feelings, regardless of whose fault it is. Yet, for so many of us human beings, it's often easier to help and forgive others, even complete strangers, rather than to be kind to ourselves. So why is it so much easier to be compassionate toward others and more difficult to be compassionate toward yourself? Maybe you think that other people are more deserving of help and respect than you are. Maybe you think you've done so many things wrong that no one can forgive you and you don't deserve to be treated compassionately. Maybe you're afraid of acknowledging that you are in pain because you're afraid of being overwhelmed by it. Maybe you think that forgiving yourself is the same as excusing your behavior and avoiding consequences. Or maybe no one has ever treated you compassionately in the past, so you think there's something wrong with you. In fact, none of these statements is true. Imagine if one of your most beloved friends or family members came to you and said, "I don't deserve compassion because I," fill in one of the statements above. You would likely disagree with them and try to convince them otherwise. Similarly, now is the time to start practicing compassion for yourself and to acknowledge that you deserve kindness and help just like everyone else. If you already believe this, skip to the self-compassion meditation below to strengthen your belief. Otherwise, keep reading. Regardless of the beliefs that are keeping you stuck, being compassionate with yourself is one of the most important skills you can learn in this workbook. You need self-compassion in order to make any lasting improvements in your life. Every type of self-help work, whether it's getting help from a therapist or using this workbook, starts with self-compassion. Self-compassion is a belief that you are deserving of kindness, forgiveness, and help, just like everyone else. The truth is that we all make mistakes in our lives, and some of those mistakes unfortunately hurt ourselves or others. However, it doesn't help to keep punishing yourself for the mistakes you've made. That only makes the situation worse. In many ways, self-compassion requires the use of radical acceptance. Remember, radical acceptance is the skill of letting go of judgments and acknowledging what is actually occurring in your life due to a long chain of events. Self-compassion requires the same thing. It's time to acknowledge that you are the person you are, with a history of unchangeable events, and you still deserve peace, safety, health, and happiness. Starting right now, you can radically accept who you are with all of your past mistakes and start making healthier, values-based decisions in your life because you deserve happiness and forgiveness just like everybody else. There's also one more important reason why you deserve compassion. That's because you have experienced great pain in your life. You have had losses. You have likely experienced rejection or abandonment at some point. You have faced physical pain and illness, and you have likely experienced disappointment when something you desperately wanted didn't happen. It's likely that you also suffered similar hurts and losses in childhood, and memories of those experiences may still even cast shadows on your life. Plus, you have likely suffered with feelings of shame, sadness, and fear, and these same painful feelings continue to show up in your life now. You deserve compassion because you've had to face your share of pain and struggle. Wouldn't you feel compassion for another human being who suffered like this, even a stranger? So shouldn't you extend the same amount of compassion to yourself? Use the meditation below to develop and reinforce your sense of self-compassion. Practice it regularly and throughout the day. Look for opportunities to express compassion towards yourself, like forgiving yourself, making healthy decisions, and doing nice things for yourself. Exercise, self-compassion meditation. Use the self-compassion meditation below to develop and strengthen your ability to show kindness and acceptance toward yourself. To begin, use mindful breathing to help yourself relax and focus. Read the instructions before beginning the exercise to familiarize yourself with the experience. If you feel more comfortable listening to the instructions, use your smartphone to record the directions in a slow, even voice so that you can listen to them while practicing this technique. Instructions. Find a comfortable place to sit in a room where you won't be disturbed. Turn off any distracting sounds. If you feel comfortable closing your eyes, do so to help you relax. To begin, take a few slow, long breaths and relax. Place one hand on your stomach. Now slowly breathe in through your nose and then slowly exhale through your mouth. Feel your stomach rise and fall as you breathe. Imagine your belly filling up with air like a balloon as you breathe in, and then feel it deflate as you breathe out. Feel the breath moving in across your nostrils, and then feel your breath blowing out across your lips. As you breathe, notice the sensations in your body. Feel your lungs filling up with air. Notice the weight of your body resting on whatever you're sitting on. With each breath, notice how your body feels more and more relaxed. Pause here for 30 seconds if you are recording the instructions. Now, as you continue to breathe, begin counting your breaths each time you exhale. You can count either silently to yourself or aloud. Count each exhalation until you reach 4, and then begin counting at 1 again. To begin, breathe in slowly through your nose, and then exhale slowly through your mouth. Count 1. Again, breathe in slowly through your nose and slowly out through your mouth. Count 2. Repeat, breathing in slowly through your nose, then slowly exhale. Count 3. Last time, breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Count 4. Now begin counting at 1 again. Pause here for 30 seconds if you are recording the instructions. Now bring your awareness inside your own body, noting the world of sensation there at this very moment. You live in this body. Allow yourself to be aware of your breath, your life force. As you hold that awareness, slowly repeat the following phrases, either silently or aloud, on each exhalation of your breath. May I be peaceful. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be happy and free from suffering. Now repeat the phrases 2 or 3 more times, allowing their meaning to deepen each time. Allow yourself to feel and accept your own sense of compassion. Repeat the phrases 2 or 3 more times if you are recording the instructions. Finally, when you are done, take a few additional slow breaths, rest quietly, and savor your own sense of goodwill and compassion. Mindful communication with others. As you continue to practice mindfulness skills by yourself, it's also very important that you begin to incorporate these skills into your interactions with others. Mindful communication is often the key to a successful relationship. If you're constantly making judgmental statements to someone, the chances are good that you'll lose that relationship. In the chapters on interpersonal effectiveness skills, you will learn how to ask others for what you need in a healthy way. But for now, let's look at how to be more mindful of the messages you send to other people. Consider the following statements. You make me sad. You're such a jerk, I could scream. Sometimes you make me so upset I just want to end it all. I know that you did that to me on purpose just to hurt me. What do all of these statements have in common? It's true that they all express some kind of emotion such as anger, distress, and sadness, but more importantly, they're all judgments of the other person. Each of the statements blames the other person for the way the speaker feels. Now consider how you would feel if someone said one of these statements to you. What would you do? Maybe you would say something just as angry back to the person, which would lead to a big fight. The result would be that nothing gets resolved. Or maybe you would just shut down emotionally, stop listening, or walk away. Again, nothing would get resolved. Judgmental statements like these stop any form of effective communication. So what can you do instead? One of the solutions is to turn you statements into mindful I statements. Mindful I statements are based on your own mindful awareness of how you feel. Mindful I statements are a more accurate description of how you feel. Mindful I statements let a person know how you feel in a non-judgmental way. Mindful I statements evoke greater empathy and understanding from the other person, which allows the person to meet your needs. Let's look at the 4 previous examples and turn them from you statements into mindful I statements. Instead of saying, you make me sad, say, right now, I feel very sad. Doesn't that sound less judgmental and blaming? If someone said the alternative statement to you, I feel very sad, wouldn't you be more willing to discuss the situation? Wouldn't you feel less angry? Look at the second sentence. Instead of saying, you're such a jerk, I could scream, say, I feel so angry right now, I could scream. Do you hear the difference it makes to change a you statement into an I statement? The other person no longer feels blamed and will be more willing to listen. Let's look at the third sentence. Instead of saying, sometimes you make me so upset I just want to end it all, say, I feel so upset and hopeless sometimes that I get very depressed. And finally, look at the last sentence. Instead of saying, I know that you did that to me on purpose just to hurt me, say, I felt very hurt when you did that. Again, mindful I statements are more accurate about how you feel. They are less judgmental. The other person will probably be more willing and able to listen to you if you use them. And, most importantly, you are more likely to get your needs met if you use them. Exercise mindful I statements. Now let's look at some more judgmental you statements and have you practice turning them into mindful I statements. Write your alternative mindful I statement in the space below the judgmental statement. 1. You make me feel horrible. 2. I know you're doing this on purpose to make me go crazy. 3. Why do you keep making me feel so angry? 4. You're being insulting. 5. Stop fooling around, you're getting on my nerves. 6. If you don't listen to what I'm telling you, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. 7. You're being a jerk, stop it. 8. You're being such a jerk, I can't believe it. 9. Why do you keep doing that to me? 10. Sometimes I feel like you're being too inflexible.